Learning Chinese is like building the Great Wall of China. It's a huge project and a very, very long journey, but every new vocabulary you learn is a new brick in your wall. Many people accumulate hundreds and thousands of bricks and they wonder, why is my wall so shaky? And that is because they're missing the mortar. The mortar is the knowledge of how to use those words. It's what keeps the bricks in their place. And the only way to produce this mortar is by consuming comprehensible Chinese input. Hey guys, today it's all about how to find comprehensible input in Mandarin Chinese so you can boost your progress and become fluent in Mandarin. Getting comprehensible input means consuming Chinese content in whatever form, but on a level so that you can understand and comprehend what it's actually about. Ideally, the input consists of large parts of words and grammar structures that you've already heard or you already know, and to a smaller amount of new words and new structures so you can improve your Chinese while listening. Usually consuming comprehensible input is a less structured way and a less formal way of learning than the normal and traditional studying. So when you are learning new vocabulary or you're going through your textbook or doing exercises in your workbook, that's active learning. So you're sitting down on the desk and you're trying to become better in Chinese. However, by consuming comprehensible input in Chinese, you're basically just spending more time with the language and you're learning passively. Comprehensible learning could be anything. It could be listening to a podcast on your way to work. It could be reading a Chinese book before you fall asleep. It could be watching a YouTube video of a Chinese vlog traveler. Or it could just be learning a new song on your guitar or piano. There's only one rule. The more fun it is, the better. The more you're interested in the topic, the smoother you're gonna learn. So if you really find something in Chinese that interests you, you won. But now you might think, how do I find this content? Don't worry, I get you covered. Let's go and jump right in. Let's start with the platform you're probably watching this video on, which is YouTube. YouTube is huge and that's why it has so much content that you can access also in Chinese. I'm just going to present you a couple of channels that I found very useful over my journey of learning Mandarin. And the first one is Mandarin Corner, hosted by Eileen. Well, basically, she's often just walking around in the street and interviewing Chinese people. And you learn more about the Chinese culture and also about the Chinese language learning process. She always put all the videos with subtitles and translations and pinyin. Another one is Growing Up with Chinese. This is basically a similar concept like in the most workbooks. You're listening to a dialogue and then they're gonna explain about the words they used in this dialogue. This is a huge collection of videos and stories and you can just go through it and see what fits your level. I think that's also a very good step for beginner Chinese. But also you got, channels like Unconventional Chinese where they just try to teach you Chinese in a more natural way or maybe a more funny way so you can stop having this stiff and unflexible approach that you might have learned in your normal Chinese lesson. But basically, YouTube does not only have YouTube content. They also have official TV channel content on YouTube. So you can watch documentaries in Chinese. Why not try it out? You can watch any documentary about animals or cities or geography, whatever you're interested in, it's out there on YouTube. Just go and type it in Chinese. It's gonna be there. If you are around the level of HSK 5 or higher, you can basically try to understand every normal Chinese content that Chinese speakers understand as well. So go ahead and try it out. Our next source of input are books. I feel books are great because if you take the time to read a book, your attention usually is completely and 100% focused on what you're reading. And that's a great time. That's a really value and precious time you spend with a language. So you go and try to dive deep into the story. A book is a little bit longer than just a short text in your textbook. If you are on the beginner or intermediate level, you might want to check out those books which are designed for speakers of around HSK 3 or HSK 4. There's lots of short stories regarding that level. So you can basically just use all the words you've already had in your last HSK exam and then go ahead and read a full complete story in Chinese. That makes you feel like, wow, I can already use the language. Although you might have not had those moments in your everyday life. You might have felt, I only learned words, I couldn't combine them, I couldn't understand them. But reading those books for HSK 3, for HSK 4 level can be really, really valuable. Obviously, when you're on a higher level, you can also try to read normal Chinese books, but those are actually sometimes on a really, really high level, especially if it's traditional Chinese books. But go ahead and try. I put some of those books in the description, so be sure to check it out. Podcasts are obviously a great way to learn a new language, and that is because you can listen to them at any time, even when you're in the process of doing something else. So there's basically lots of good podcasts for learning Chinese out there, but I just want to point out to a few of them. I think the most famous one, and in my opinion also the best one, is Chinese Pod. This is basically a Chinese teacher and a Chinese student listening together to a Chinese story or dialogue, and after that analyzing each and every complex or difficult grammar structures and vocabulary. So in this way, you're gonna make sure you learn something new every episode. But there's also lots of other good podcasts, for example, Coffee Break Chinese. When I lived in Taiwan, I listened to the Taiwanese news every morning. In the beginning, I didn't get much, but with each and every episode, it got better. So because there are too many podcasts out there, I also put a link in the description to a website which lists the best Chinese Mandarin podcasts, so you can find out more there. Just make sure to check it out, go ahead and pick the podcast that best suits your interest and your level of Chinese. Music for me is a huge thing. I'm a musician myself, and if I find a song that I can really vibe with, I'm just gonna make sure that I learn the lyrics, and every time I listen to it, I'm gonna sing along with it. And that's something great. That's something that can really improve your Chinese if you know all the lyrics of your songs. You only have to find a song in Chinese that you actually like. So I put a list down there what they actually have in Chinese music, because when I first encountered that problem, I didn't even know what Chinese people are listening to. And yeah, it's not this. So I was really confused. But over the time, I discovered all kind of music, from super corny traditional Chinese music to Chinese hip-hop, Chinese emotional music, Chinese club music, Chinese reggaeton, or even Chinese rock. And if none of that is interesting enough, check out this German rapper that became super popular in Chinese social media just by rapping in their language. A good place to listen to Chinese songs is YouTube, but also Spotify. For example, Spotify got those top 50 chart playlists for Taiwan and for China, so you can check them out to be up to date with the latest songs. But you can also just check out my playlist. If you're super lazy and you don't want to do the research yourself, just listen to it and see what kind of stuff you like. If you like it, go to the artist and check out the other albums. That's how you find music that you like and that you can use to improve your Chinese. TV shows and movies are another great content to consume in Chinese. I think the most famous Asian TV shows and movies come from Korea and Japan, but China also has a really big industry. So the TV shows I chose for you have kind of every topic covered which you might be interested in. So we start with Shall I Compare You to Spring Day? This TV show is about a young group of medicine students that have to go to military service. It's about friendship and emotions in their young lives. If you're more on the action thriller type, check out Reset, which is basically one of those time loop stories where people are about to have a bus accident and then the protagonist is trying to prevent this bus from having this accident. A really classic one is maybe Sweet Combat. This is based on a K-drama, so they pretty much adapted it from there, but they have great scenes, great actors, and it's a good environment to learn some Chinese. One of my personal favorites is Light the Night or Huadeng Chu Shang. It's basically a crime show that plays in the late 80s in Taiwan. So you got a completely different vibe than nowadays, and they really made a good job with the dialogues, the characters, and the lighting in the entire TV show. In my opinion, it's a really good Netflix TV show, so make sure to check that one out. Scissor 7 is a really hilarious and well-produced Chinese cartoon, so you always have very short episodes. You can just watch one of them during lunch break, and I feel the stories are pretty good. It's a really good TV show. I love it. Next one is The Ghost Bride, and for you guys that like horror, you can check that one out. So yes, that was a pretty long list, but I wanted to make sure that you can find some content you're actually interested in, that you are willing to consume in your free time. But basically, there's so much more that I did not even mention in this short video. You know, even on Instagram, you have Chinese Reels, you have TikTok. On WeChat, you got this thing called Channels, which is basically also like TikToks, but WeChat integrated. You can also find a lot of Chinese content there. And then you got Chinese live streaming for gaming. You got makeup tutorials, you got travel vlogs, you got cooking videos. Everything is out there in Chinese. Just go ahead and get it. I hope you guys found this content useful. Make sure to subscribe and smash the like button. And I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Have a good one. Bye.